Doom? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Backlog Builder, this time covering Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. So this is my first real exposure with Doom Patrol aside from like Teen Titans, which they were just kind of like a superhero team. I don't, it's been years since that, like when did that air? No, I guess they were also like in a flashback in Young Justice, but yeah, I know there's a TV show but I haven't seen it. And I don't think it did them justice in that, like, which which is fine, because for the services of Teen Titans, they're just Beast Boys parent figures, but in the comics they're oh yeah, that's how do I even begin this? I've been noticing a trend with the comic because all these comics have been suggested by one patron, who's currently my only patron suggesting anything. And there's definitely a trend with them where reality, what's that? It's optional. It doesn't matter. It was especially interesting reading this right after Planetary, because I feel like with Planetary, a lot of what it drew from was like very popular and known, like pulpy things, kaiju, Tarzan, DC comics, comics in general. With Doom Patrol, it kind of goes like... No, like there's definitely recognizable references and parodies, but in general it's very much like you haven't seen this fucking shit before, and there was definitely times I'm reading it I'm just like, what the fuck? And so now I can say I understand like what Doom Patrol is, and I definitely like the angle, where they're kind of these like what it's even. So I one thing though going into this is I was a little confused at the start because like. I recognize some of the Doom Patrol characters, but it kind of begins after another story arc where a bunch of them die, and so like there's even a part where they list off a bunch of dead members, and I don't know who these people are. Because, if I only have, like, I only know, like, the most popular members based on just, designs from a different series that was, like, decades after this comic run. So it was a little confused at the beginning, but, I just looked at the wiki as like, oh, okay, this is that character, basically. And I was able to recognize who I knew and who I didn't know, and then I got enough of a gist of it over the, reading. So now I could say I get the, these characters and what Doom Patrol is, where it's these hero, like, it is almost like a kind of, like, interesting take on the superhero stuff, because they've got these powers, but they're also all fucked up. Like, sometimes because of what got them the powers, or even the power themselves have these, like, negative side effects, and they're meant to sort of evoke these, what's the word I'm looking for? Disabled, or marginalized, or otherwise, like, these people don't have it very good. And so, the Doom Patrol was a sort of way to, put them in the public eye as a positive force, but they all have major issue, like it sucks for these guys, like it is a little hard to recommend this comic. It's if you like, there was even an author note by I think the guy or the person who took over the comic after Grant Morrison left it, talking about how refreshing they found Doom Patrol, because like it draws influence from other things like Dada art movement in particular, which it's very direct when it and it's very absurdist, very, like I said, when I say like you haven't seen this shit before, oh fuck. Like it's very much toys around with its reality and makes, it begs the question of like what is real in the content. Like I think even that I don't want to make any sweeping statements. Like I know what I feel. But, God, it's fucked, though. And, that kind of plays into the core conflict, because these are people who have suffered a lot in their life, and and we see in a lot of the antagonists, the people who have also suffered, especially, like, the Brotherhood of Dada, who are people who, maybe they would have been Doom Patrol members had, something gone, had they been found in, like, they're also just people with powers who got kind of fucked, or their powers fucked them, but they instead take this more, nihilistic, absurdist route, and, nothing matters, good or evil, who cares? We're Dada, it's absurd, nothing matters. It's and that there's even parts later in the comic that hurt me, where, like, that I won't talk about, but it's like, on some level, some Doom Patrol members kind of agree, because they've also kind of gone through some shit. And it's sad, and it sucks, and I just want, what's the... yeah, overall, yeah, I liked it. Like, I definitely... Cliff was probably my favorite character, Robot Man. He got into an accident. He's only a brain in a robot body. He can't feel anything. But he's also the most human character. Like, there's parts where, like, he just had... Like, at times, he's the one... Like, he's the most heroic of the characters. He's, like, there's some parts where he just has, like, funny lines. And, like, there was one running gag where something weird would happen. Like, his friend Jane would just, like, burst through a window in a library and, like, I need books. And then, like, take the books for research. And he just go like, it's a superhero thing. Like, that's just how he explains it. Like, superheroes, move aside. And it's, okay. Oh, yeah, and the other one is, there's, like, some kids skateboarding, and he's like, remember, kids, don't walk through plate glass windows. And it's like, okay, good to know. Thank you for your public service announcement. And in general, like, the comic was definitely, weird and off the wall, and, it could get, like, sad. But also, as far as, like, because, again, I haven't read a lot of comics, but there was moments in here that I would say is probably the funniest, comics I've read. Not like all graphic novels, to say, because that would include like manga, but just purely in like Western comics. Like there's I'm gonna spoil. Yeah, I guess, actually, I'll leave the recommendation there, and if anything I said sounded interesting to you, give it a read. I'll move into spoiler territory with a comedy bit, because there's one chapter where Cliff's body's acting up, or maybe it was for maintenance, and he gets separated from his body. His body takes a life of its own, and and he's like, if your brain comes back in me, will I lose my identity? I don't want that, so I'm gonna make myself blow up if anyone puts a brain in me. And so the brain in Mons Mala, Brotherhood of Evil, major Doom Patrol antagonists, they're like, they decided to infiltrate the Doom Patrol headquarters. And yeah, you see where this is going. But no, and I was definitely seeing it coming, and I knew this little detail about them, about how the brain and Mala are in a homosexual relationship. And what happened was, like, the brain, like, got put into the Cliff in the Robot Man body, and then he and Mala came out for each other, and they started making out, and then the body explodes. Like, the timing was so perfect. And then, the other good part about it was Mala's hat flew off and landed on Cliff's brain in a jar. And he mentioned earlier how he would only take his hat off for someone who'd, like, outsmarted him or beat him in combat or something like that. So he took his hat off to Cliff, who has no idea what's going on and didn't know what he was doing, because he's just a brain in a jar. And he's like, help! I could barely take anything away from the outside world. I don't have eyes. I can only hear things through a speaker. What's going on? And yeah, Brandon Mala just died. So it was fucking funny. And that's not even the only. The other one that was good. I think it's supposed to be a Punisher parody. It's a dude who's just like off his rocker, and he's like, beards are the enemy no one understands. Like, he literally, like, will fucking kill someone and, like, shave off their beard off their corpse and take it. And so he gets in a fight with Niles, the chief, in a grocery store, and he gets killed. This man, Grant Morrison, his brain is so big because he sees God. Because there's a thing as he's like, he kills a guy and he's like, maybe I'll see you in hell, or I won't see you again, except maybe in hell. Like, this is like a catchphrase of his, like, cool, edgy, 80s dark comic one-liner. It's cool. Yeah, maybe it's not specifically a reference to the Punisher, but just those kind of just like dark, edgy anti-heroes in general. But so he gets killed, and then, like I said, he sees God. And he's like, oh shit, that's right, God has a beard, where's my gun? And like, heaven has become his own personal hell because God is there and he can't shave off his beard. Because the reference to hell was just a small little thing. but it tied in very perfectly with the resolution of the it's so funny. Okay, so after this will be the non-comedy spoilers. But fuck me. Okay, I guess one to bring up another arc I was talking about earlier was the one where Mr. Nobody runs for president, and some of the lines they say like, "Oh, at least this guy's honest about being a crook." Like, have we had good presidents in the last 50 years, 100 years or so? Probably not, because it's just like just some of the dialogue was very reminiscent of what I've been hearing for the last 20 years. And just that's general sort of like nihilism, absurdism towards these topics. Here it is in the late 80s, early 90s. So, and yeah, it also got sad to see the characters kind of resigning themselves to, like Cliff even had a line where it's like, he doesn't want to admit the Dada are right, because on some level he does agree. And then it even comes in the end after, like, he saves the world for the billionth time, and he's talking to, a psychiatrist, I think, and she's telling him that, like, oh, maybe on some level, you know, you don't think the world deserves to be saved because it's filled with all these shitty people who, you know, haven't helped, like, like, one other line was, like, Cliff, he's helping people because he himself wants to be helped, he wants to be saved, because he's, again, this disembodied, like, at this point in the story, he doesn't even have his brain anymore, he's purely digital, his consciousness was digitized and, like, put into the body, so he's all a robot, he doesn't even have that anymore, his brain. And the ending is kind of sad, because there's Danny the Street, that's a whole thing, a sentient street who actually is also a gateway to a sentient world, as revealed in the end. And you sort of have the kind of question of that reality, where it's like, do they accept Earth, or do they want to accept this other world? And they ultimately, many of them do accept that other world and kind of escape, because the real Earth just isn't fit for them. Like Jane. Jane had an arc. Like they even observe in like the last issue about how, a lot of the antagonists, especially the ones in Jane's, were, you know, where they're like these controlling patriarchal figures, and, you know, she had to deal with the abuse from her father. So, you know, there's this, again, is it reality where it's like, oh wait, is all of this in Jane's head? At the end it's like, oh, did she commit suicide? And but we see it as Cliff taking her to Danny the Planet, and that's a little sad for me. I'm gonna look at it like, you know, it's a DC comic. I can accept that. Or, well, is it DC? Yeah, no, it's DC. The Justice League fucking show up. But yeah, like Dorothy does accept the real world. She goes back. Cliff is kind of vague. It seems like he went to the Danny the Planet at the end, or at least he took Jane there. Everyone else is dead, I think, or gone. Like Rhea, she's gone. Oh god, and that one chapter where Cliff is sort of like, he's dreaming, and it seems like, again, he's a real person who was hurt in the accident, and the Robot Man stuff is just dreams of him, you know, sort of evoking his subconscious of how he feels, and like these kind of conspiracy theories, like, yeah, people do use conspiracy theories as a way to gain control over the world, or gain control over not having control. Like, everyone is against them, the systems of power are completely corrupt and perfect to, you know, so by coming up with conspiracy theories, they have power in that they know and they're in control, but also they're not, which is kind of like ties into what the Vision's, or Robot Man's dream, and how, you know, he was a robot. He was, but it was all Niles' plan, which, fuck that guy. Holy shit. Like, I was definitely picking up that he's kind of a piece of shit, because he mostly cares about his experiments and stuff. But yeah, I'm responsible for the Doom Patrol. I arranged for the accidents that made you who you are. You fucker. Jesus Christ. And yeah, I guess Niles' whole philosophy was kind of interesting, because he's like, oh, people grow, or, you know, catastrophe makes things better, so I'm going to make these nanomachines that rewrite the world and create catastrophes so that the world that comes out is better. But then, obviously, like, that's shitty, and the people who undergo, like, he's like, oh, yeah, but you're better. The Doom Patrol is better, they're powerful for what they've gone through, but also, like, they're suffering, they didn't ask for this. God, he's such a piece of shit. Oh, I didn't talk about the art that much, did I? The covers are really fucking good. In particular, the art in general is solid, and like it can play with its style a lot, and but the covers are often really like abstract and, or maybe not abstract is the wrong word, but there's definitely a sort of like gritty, maybe grotesqueness to it. But I always like seeing the covers; they were really cool. I'm all over the place, I feel like, but because it's like, I like picking up on my themes and conflicts because I'm boring. But this is fundamentally like a work where it's meant to be absurd, and so like, because there was definitely times where like there's so many like little details and things getting dropped where I like to take these details and like apply them and see how they fit into the, but then it's just like the scissormen, yeah, why are there scissors? The scissormen, I don't know. I'm lost. But then it's like, oh, it's supposed to be absurd and okay, like, and not to say that there isn't more to read into it, but I just it was a relief that I like, because I did feel like I got enough out of the conflict, because yeah, again, with the playing with reality, a lot of the times there were other realities, or especially realities from a piece of art or fiction, like a painting with that captures worlds inside of it, so it has like a layered structure of a bunch of worlds, and they deal with the fifth horseman of apocalypse by making it absorb and take influence from Dada artwork. So it just comes out, it's like, oh, it's nothing. It comes out as a little fucking rocking horse, and the Justice League is outside, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? They're not ready for the Doom Patrol. Superman can see from the fucking moon from Earth, but he hasn't seen shit. Okay. Actually, all of us can see the moon from Earth. What am I talking about? Oh, and I guess to bring up something else quickly, there was the whole arc with the Pentagon, and why is it in 5 sides? And it ends with Flex Mental making it a circle. But that arc also had the giant phone, where it's like, it was so, we live in a society where it's like, who really runs America? The answer is phones. So we have this like ghost in a machine of a phone who, was able to communicate and control America by controlling the phones. And it's the phones who really run America. So like, if this was made today, it would just be computers. In fact, that's been done a billion times, because but it's okay for it to be we live in a society. It's 30 years old. We didn't know we lived in a society yet. That was a joke. But the part that got me is like, I don't even think it was supposed to be funny necessarily. Maybe it was. Because he was killed by the Candlemaker, Dorothy's imaginary friend? Imaginary creation would be more accurate. And like, we just see he's hanging by a noose made out of his own wires, and Dorothy just says, like, they're horrified, or she's horrified while she says this, he hung up, and I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm dying. It's so funny. Why would he say that? Why would she say that? Oh yeah, but I don't really have much more to say aside from like, oh, that was neat, or here's another part that I remember that I thought was cool. I'm definitely interested in more Doom Patrol. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll watch the TV series if it's not too long. Though honestly, I have so much other stuff to get to, I have no idea when that will be. But yeah, I really like the comic. I wouldn't say like love it or it's in my top comics, but it was still. Oh, I could say I don't. Would I go back to it? Possibly. Like, it was interesting, and it was cool. I liked it. Yeah, I don't think I've read anything else by Grant Morrison yet. I've been meaning to read All-Star Superman for a million years. But yeah, good comics. It'd be nice to read something a little more straightforward for once. Maybe I'll have to do some on my own, because again, with all the first the Moon Knight, where it's like, reality? What's that? Then Planetary, where it's like, reality? It's just a 2.5D stack of knowledge. And now this, where it's like, maybe the whole comic was just in Jane's head. Maybe I'm just in Jane's head.